Now, tonight's adventure into the unknown.
Hey, listeners.
Hello.
Well, this is the intro portion of the podcast where we break down what you're about to listen to.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so excited.
We're excited for you.
Our guest for this episode is Dwayne Paro, making a return to the podcast for a second time. It's been a while since we've had him on. Dwayne Paro's a veteran. He is super intelligent guy.
Yeah, he's
we talk about what his qualifications are in the podcast. If you've listened to the past episode, you know. But he's got a book that just came out. We're going to talk about that. And he's also got his Charlie Mike podcast and his veteran coaching.
Landmark
Life Coaching, yep. So we get into all that. We have some fun. Go down some random paths of conversation. Frenzy's got a crush on Elon Musk, so we talked about that for about 30 minutes. Just kidding. But it's a fun one, and we love Dwayne. He's a friend of the show and a friend of ours, and we're excited to have him back. And so it's a good time. And so the sponsors for this episode, got to give a shout out to Comics Watching Comics.
Heck yes. Seasons 1 through 5 are now available on Amazon Video, and currently casting for season 7 and 8 in NYC.
That's fun. I'm hoping to see Angelo Vescio on one of those seasons.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I know he's going to try out. And if he doesn't get a spot, then this shit is rigged.
Yeah,
Angelo Vescio is legit funny.
It's like the NFL.
You think the NFL's rigged?
A little bit.
Really?
A little bit.
Ooh.
That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, I might have to talk to you after we're done recording this intro. So, yes, Comics Watching Comics. Check that out. They're on Amazon Video. They got the website, comicswatchingcomics.com.
Yep, follow them on all the social media handles. We also have the Sportsbook Box Office Podcast.
Yeah!
Hosted by
Kevin Goatee and Jeffrey Paul, two New York comedians.
Chatting about sports, movies, busting each other's balls, all the things.
Yes, it's a good time.
Man stuff.
Check it out. They're on all the social media platforms. Just look it up. Sportsbook Box Office Podcast.
Boom.
All right. So, yes, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy this episode with Dwayne Paro.
It's a good one.
One very smart-ass dude, a veteran, making waves and helping a lot of people who need some guidance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
enjoy.
Now, tonight's adventure into the unknown.
Shut up and sit down.
Sarge approved.
What are we gonna do when we get back?
What we gonna do when we get back?
I take a shower and hit the rack.
Take a shower and hit the rack.
Welcome to Charlie Mike. If you're a combat veteran with an entrepreneurial bug and want to know what highly successful combat veteranpreneurs are doing to transform their sacrifice and experience to create their visual reality, then this is dedicated to your inspiring and fulfilling future. And now your host, Dwayne Paro.
No way, gotta run, beat, lots of fun.
Welcome. You are listening to Sarge Approved.
You are.
I'm Sarge.
I'm Frenzy.
And we got a pretty badass guest this evening.
We do.
Making a triumphant return to the show. Who we got, Frenzy?
We have podcaster of the Charlie Mike podcast. We have the owner and coach at Landmark Life Coaching and author of a recently released book, The Empowered Veteran, Dwayne Paro.
What's up, Dwayne?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks a lot.
We're looking forward to having you back. We were just talking before we started rolling here. Last time you were on, it was like episode 51, something like that.
Yep.
This is gonna be 102.
Yep. So 50 episodes ago, basically.
Yeah, 51.
51.
Yeah. So it's been a while, and I got to imagine that there's some new things that have been going on in your life, because I don't know what month that was that we had you on.
Yeah, I think you had just started the Charlie Mike podcast at that point, maybe. Or
Yeah,
hadn't
so it's
even
been about
started
a
it.
year.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And Charlie Mike podcast. That's you do one a week for that show.
Yeah, I just finished up season 1 in December, end of November, again in December, and I did one a week. I released a new episode every Monday morning at 6 a.m., highlighting a new highly successful combat veteran who got into entrepreneurship. And so a lot of really courageous stories from their military times to include amazing transitions that turn into huge successes.
You put one out at 6 a.m.
Yeah, well, that's the great part of automation. It rolls out itself.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
Technology.
I was gonna say
right.
I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. for this show.
No. Nope, not going to
I'm
happen.
not doing it.
So, and you were also yourself a veteran. Thank you for your service in the Air Force,
thank
right?
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Correct. Thank you. Yeah.
And how long did you serve?
I was in the Air Force for 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, weren't you working in like super labs and stuff, making like superhero costumes and armor?
He was making Iron Man.
Yeah,
That's right. That's where Iron Man came from, in Rome Laboratory in New York. Yeah, in fact, that's where I started, which was a very unusual start to the military, which is it's an organization with mostly civilians, and so you show up and you're one of the few guys that's actually in a uniform. So it was very interesting, and they did develop a lot of really cool things out of those laboratories.
I'm sure they did.
Like what kind of things? Things you can talk about?
Yeah. I mean, some of the most widely known is like the CD, right? That's where they did a lot of testing and production of that came out of one of the projects that they had going on there, and so it was. Most of what they did was classified kind of projects, but for the some of the stuff comes out in your normal day-to-day stuff that you use in time. So
crazy.
They made the CD.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's super cool. And what got you in? What made you make the decision to sign up?
Yeah, I always knew from a young age that I was going to go in the military. I wasn't sure which branch at first, and I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do in the military. But I come from a long lineage of veterans, all the way back through my grandfather, my father, some of my uncles, my brother, myself. We all served. Funny thing is, in all the different branches, we weren't a family of one particular branch, and so we tried them all out and did many years in the military, and so it was kind of built into my DNA that's what I wanted to do.
That's cool.
I think it's funny how you can have the kind of good-natured ribbing, sometimes a little more than good-natured ribbing between the branches.
Mm-hmm.
Like Army and Marines, they're always like talking shit,
give
to
each other crap. Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's just weird. It's that like team dynamic. Even though you're all part of the like big full team, you still have these little like rivalries and bickering between branches, their own little
absolutely, yeah.
subdivided teams. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I always thought it was hilarious. It is fun to engage in it, though. You talk to some Marines like, "Oh, you jarhead" or whatever. But I just think it's silly that it even exists sometimes.
It's kind of like high school cliques, though, in a way.
Yeah, there's cliques everywhere you go, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
Really
It's competitive, right? It's more of a competitive type thing to see, which area can be the best. So
exactly,
So Charlie Mike podcast is about a year old, and you're doing seasons. Is that right? Is that what you said? You just finished season 1?
Yeah. So I did 48 episodes in the first season, and the reason I'm doing it in seasons was I'm looking to change, going from telling stories of combat veterans who became successful entrepreneurs to now changing it over to having all veterans be able to come on and be able
cool.
to tell a story of empowerment, something that happened in their career, in their life, whether it was in the military or not, but it really empowered them to be successful or to be able to get out of a situation maybe that wasn't so good and create success in their life. Because, as we'll talk about later in my book, that's really what my coaching practice and my book is about, is empowering veterans, and in particular veterans that are in transition.
That's awesome. So are you going to continue with changing? So you'll do this season with that format, and then season 3 you'll switch it to something else?
I think so. It's even for me as a host, it mixes it up.
Switches it up.
It opens up the aperture for who could come on the show and tell their story, because that's one thing I've really found with my podcast is it gives an avenue for veterans to come on and really be able to get exposure to their story, which is very enlightening and empowering at the same time to other veterans to hear, even though there are challenges with transition, no matter, what branch you are in and what your situation is, there's always challenges to the transition itself, because you're going from something known to something somewhat unknown, and, you can still be successful at the end though. And so, I think being able to switch up the theme a little bit mixes it up and gives other people opportunities to come onto the show.
Yeah.
That's cool. You've got like multiple avenues now that you're trying to provide a guiding force for these veterans that are coming home and trying to transition back into civilian life. You've got the podcast, the Charlie Mike, and Charlie Mike is the phonetic CM, which is in military talk means continue mission. So I mean that goes hand in hand with the book, The Empowered Veteran, the Landmark Life Coaching, where you're the mother effing CEO.
CEO and coach?
Yeah. And,
that's right.
And so it all, it's those are 3 different streets that you're taking to ultimately arrive at the same goal. That's pretty neat that you're using so many different avenues to try to do something that's a pretty damn positive thing.
Yeah, not everybody, not everything resonates with everybody. And so, there may be somebody who's not interested in the book. There may be somebody who's not interested in talking on a podcast, right? Or they're not interested in one-on-one or group coaching. And so, they're interested in one of those, but not all of those. And so it opens up the attractiveness of somebody to want to get that kind of support. And, one other thing I've partnered with since we've last talked is Adam Bird, who is the CEO of the Heroes Media Group. Him and I have come together to collaborate on putting what we call a mastermind together. So it's called the Heroes Mastermind Group. And we're kicking that off in April. And this is where individuals can come in to groups of 10 people, and you get together on a weekly Zoom call, and you support and collaborate and help each other to become more successful. And it's open to veterans, military members, military spouses in the community, so that we can have this platform for them to be able to grow amongst people that have similar experiences.
That's super cool.
That's a good idea, too, because a lot of people don't want to get up and go to a meeting and meet in a room with people. It's hard enough to get people up off the couch to actually go somewhere, and meet with a bunch of strangers in person. So that's cool that they can do it over, it's a Zoom call, so I'm assuming that's like a Skype thing.
Yeah, it's very similar. Yeah, Zoom's very similar to Skype. And, with these smaller groups of 10, it allows them to build rapport, which they're used to in the military, learn to like, know, and trust, right? And so that after a few weeks, they start to open up in that smaller group more and more on things that are going on in their life, whether it's personal or professional, and things that they're, experiencing that are a challenge that they're like, hey, each week 2 people are in what we call the power seat, where they can bring a challenge in particular to the group and say, here's what I'm dealing with, whether it's personal or professional. Ask for that advice, that candid advice of the other 9 people that are in the group. and be able to take what works for them based on what they get for advice and go out and implement that. And so, in the smaller groups, you're more likely to open up as an individual and share these things, and you stay in that same small group with the mastermind. But then you have access to the other groups of 10 people as well. So if there's things that aren't as personal that you want to get a broader sense of, then you can ask it to the broader group in a Facebook page that we have.
That's cool. Well, and I would imagine it's pretty empowering for the people that are giving the advice to be able to feel comfortable giving it and hoping that whoever they're talking to, that they're going to learn from it and try and help them, I guess. And then the people that are getting the advice, they get to hear it and take it for what it is too. So it's kind of it works both ways.
Oh, and it's nice when you have somebody to talk to who has been through the same kind of shit that you have.
Right.
At least they understand where you're coming from, a fellow veteran, a fellow combat veteran, whatever. That definitely helps.
Like you might never be friends outside of that, or you may never be, you're not alike as people, but your experiences bring you together.
I'll tell you, there's dudes that I served with over in Iraq that were like brothers to me. They're, just all the time we spent together over there, we became like brothers. But, you look back, you're like, if we hadn't served overseas together, like, I probably wouldn't have hung out with this dude as a civilian. Like, we're just completely different people. Like, we wouldn't be like hanging out watching football games together, or some of them completely different. But over there, you're like, you're fucking brothers.
Well, yeah, that's special. That's pretty special.
And then afterwards, you're still brothers. You're still friends.
You always will be
back in the civilian, but you have that initial connection. If you didn't have that time served together, like you had just met, bumped into each other on the street or in some bar, probably would never become friends with a lot of those dudes.
Probably not.
It's weird.
Well, that's interesting. So Dwayne, you served 8 years in the Air Force, and then obviously this helping veterans and empowering them is something that you're passionate about, because you've already come up with 3 to 4 different avenues to share that and to try and get that going. What is kind of your driving force behind that?
Yeah, I spent 8 years in the military. I got out and I chased an ambition, right? I went into the information technology field for money, right? Purely for money. It was, I had gotten my bachelor's degree in information technology. It was the up and coming thing at the time in the late 90s. And so I went out and became a junior system administrator out of the military and spent the next 20 years climbing to my current position as a chief information officer for a federal aerospace engineering firm. And, as I'm
bragging right now, Dwayne.
Say, what's that?
I said, are you bragging right now?
Yeah.
Well,
it makes it sound that way.
No, but that was the time when you were kind of overseeing programs and helping them. Like, they weren't going really well, but they were spending a bunch of money on stuff. So you would try to help them not cut costs, but just figure out like what we can do to make this be successful or happen.
Efficient, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I work on a lot of programs over those years. You run across those things where they're inefficient, and you gotta help the government to be better in that process. And so through a lot of that comes the coaching aspect, right? You're coaching the teams that you build and things like that, and that's actually more of what I enjoyed rather than the technology aspect.
Okay.
And because there's always the new technology, right? And so you get more back from the process of watching and helping others to grow in their careers. And so as 2020 is coming up and my son's getting ready to graduate high school, I said, this would be a great opportunity for me to have a transition in my life as well. And so I started to really self-evaluate on what I wanted to do next. And that's where the coaching aspect came from.
Okay.
Like, why you want to be so helpful? Why are you such a nice guy, Dwayne?
Yeah, you're too nice.
Why are you so damn nice? You
should live in Minnesota.
You are without a doubt the smartest person on this show right now. We've had a handful of guests that are definitely, without a doubt, way more intelligent than me and Frenzy combined. But there's been some where we're definitely the smartest people in the room. But not only are you a highly intelligent individual, driven and motivated, but you also just want to help people. Like, why are you so nice? Can you explain to us how that happened? Did you have like awesome parents growing up, or what? You didn't? You had a pretty good childhood.
You know, I had
Matthew?
a great upbringing, but I think, you know, a lot of it's just kind of who you are, right? I've always been a compassionate person. I've always been somebody who likes to share the credit, share the wealth kind of thing. And, you know, I think that's why through my years of building teams, my teams have always been so successful, is because the credit is with them. And as a leader, you need to be that way. And so, you know, for me, the compassion to give and to be able to support is just within me naturally. And so it really gives me energy, right, to be that way. And so it's just something I strive to do all the time.
That's when you know that you're doing something that you really actually enjoy, that you have a passion for, when you actually feel like a drive, like a pull towards it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get people who, like, they have to be a comedian. Like, that's the only thing they want to do, and they actually, like, just love being up on stage. Or you have somebody who just loves writing. All he wants to do is write stories and books, and I can't imagine doing that. But or even getting up on stage. But that's something that is definitely that's part of you. Like, and I don't know if it's nature or nurture, if it's something you're just kind of born with. It's probably a little bit of both.
Probably a little bit of both, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see some pretty amazing people come out of some messed up childhoods.
You do.
Yeah.
But you also see people that don't do well with their childhoods.
You see awesome parents make just monsters for children. Like, what happened there? Everything was set up just right for you. They loved you. They gave you a good home. They fed you, and then you still end up being a psychopath.
They're just like, nope.
Right.
You just never know.
It's just never. It's you really honestly don't know. You can do the best that you can.
But Dwayne's one of the good guys.
Oh, absolutely.
In a world filled with plenty of bad guys, Dwayne's one of the good guys.
Yeah. So tell us about your book, The Empowered Veteran, which, by the way, you sent us both copies of, and we thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, brother.
Appreciate that so much.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you for the opportunity to come on and talk about it. You know, it's been kind of one of those projects that I started about 2 years ago, and about every 3 to 4 months I'd convince myself to shelve it. I'd be like, I don't know if this is going to add value. I don't know, why me? Why would I write what I know, and why would somebody buy or want what I'm putting on paper? And so I went through that cycle a few times, and finally my wife said, all right, enough. Just finish the project, get it out there, get it published, and it'll be great. And it has. It's been a very, very awesome experience to go through the whole process. There's so much you don't know as you're getting into it, and you just learn as you go. Everything from once you create your manuscript to getting it edited to going with a published company to help create the cover, the design inside, and then going through the whole publishing process. And it's so exciting when you sell that first copy. It's like, wow, somebody really does want to buy this.
Yeah.
Or get the first copy in your hands and actually get to feel it and be like, this is mine. I made this.
Yeah, that's gotta be quite an accomplishment. And I guarantee, I know I've heard on multiple occasions from people who have written books that they feel the same way. Like, why the hell is anyone going to want to read what I have to say, what I'm going to put down on paper? Like, why me? What makes me worth reading? And so I don't think that that's an uncommon feeling to have, writing your first book. But I'm curious about this book writing process, like how it all works. It's always been something that's interested me, and I've never really heard the real ins and outs of how you get from, conception to finished product. Because I've heard before that it can be an absolute nightmare.
Well,
to write a book.
And if when you buy The Empowered Veteran, you'll see that it's kind of got, it's almost like it's got workbook.
She just held it up like she was doing
I was doing the Vanna White.
She's like she was doing a detergent commercial or something.
I was pretending to be Lamar Burton from Reading Rainbow. I was showing the book off.
Take a look. It's in a book. The Empowered Veteran.
But anyways, it is kind of like a workbook in a way, because you ask questions, and the questions are really good, and I think it makes people think. But I feel like that would be even more difficult. You're not only writing a book, but you're trying to engage more so than you would just a normal book with the person that's reading it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because, some people have said, it's a very, it's not a very big book, right? And I'm like, yeah, because the idea of if you had a big book, then a lot of people just read the book, right? The idea of this is it's coaching you as you go through it.
Right.
You should be slowing down, stopping, thinking about the concepts, thinking about how that applies to you, making some notes, and not just kind of, oh yeah, that's interesting, and blowing through the section.
Yeah,
and
it's
so,
interactive.
while it might be 140 pages, it's still going to take you some time to go through.
That's what's cool about this is, like you were saying, Frenzy, is interactive. It's like a workbook. The size of it, I'm holding it in my hands. I mean, what would you compare this to for our listeners that can't see it? It's not like a big, thick
I would say a
novel.
DVD case, like a DVD,
Yes, perfect.
maybe just a little bit bigger. But
About the size and thickness of a DVD case, and this is it's perfect size for just carrying on you. Like, you could stick it in your back pocket, you could throw it in your backpack. It's not this big bulky thing, and that's what I think this book is kind of meant for, at least in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with me, but like, you go through the book and it has spots where you can like take notes. There's questions, like you said, friends. You can interact with it, and it's something that it's like a guidebook you can carry on you if you're really serious about the transition from being a veteran to a civilian and becoming a vetrepreneur.
Right. Well, and the other part of it too is when you're writing a book, you kind of have to realize that some people, maybe people like to read, but they don't comprehend what they read. They could sit in front of this huge giant book and they would maybe comprehend 50% of it.
It's weird.
Where you've got interaction where you can actually write stuff down and there's questions that are asked of you and you have to think about it. You're going to retain more of that information.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the premise, right? Is you because there's so many books. Like, a lot of people say, well, I read 3-4 books a month. Well, yeah, you can read 3-4 books a month, but are you actually doing the practical application of the contents that were in it?
Exactly.
A lot of people will get through a book and they'll find a point that really resonated, but then the other 99% of the material that somebody painstakingly put together falls to the side.
Gone.
Yeah. Yep. They're like, well, I just remembered the one thing. On to the next. I hope the movie's better than the book, but usually not.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're going to make a movie about you, Dwayne? The Empowered Veteran movie where you're vetting Iron Man suits and...
That's right. Yeah, it would be a good fiction novel that we could do.
Yeah.
Well, I just applaud you because I think that there are a lot of veterans out there that don't have really anyone that they feel like they can talk to or explain their situation. And I'm not a veteran myself, so I can't fully say, but I know that there's a lot of them that do need help and support. And I think that it's great that you're offering so many different platforms for that to happen. Yeah,
that's key, because like I said earlier, it's, being able to put something out that resonates with somebody, no matter what the platform is key, because everybody's a little bit different.
Exactly. Yeah, it's totally true.
Yeah. So tell me about this writing this book process, because I'm just curious about the ins and outs of writing a book. Not that I'm like going to write a book or anything.
You probably will.
But I've heard stories from authors who are like, it was a nightmare writing this book. Like, I'm glad it's finally done.
I think the hardest part is the editing, honestly, and it depends on your personality, right? Because it's your baby, and then all of a sudden somebody's telling you how ugly it is, and
it'd be so hard.
You're stepping back, going, "Oh, but I thought that sounded so good," and they're like, "Well, if you say it like this," and you try to not lose your voice in that editing process, so that's the challenge, because you have an editor that has a very in-depth background on what makes a book good and what doesn't, and typically it's what your manuscript is like is not what's going it's not what's going to go to market, and so you have to be prepared for that back and forth. And the one thing I found too, once I had the manuscript ready, which is basically the basic, premise of your book, I sent it to one editor just to cross the T's and dot the I's. And then after that, I then, because I was still questioning the value that this was going to add to the veteran community, I then sent it to 30 veterans and asked them to look at it from a content perspective, not from a grammatical or anything like that.
Right.
And once I got enough thumbs up, I got a few, thumbs down, which is normal in the process, or kind of half a thumb.
Half a thumb.
Then
A knuckle. Thumb knuckle.
Yeah, that's right. So then I said, all right. So I polished it some more, because originally my book was 4 sections, and 2 of the sections that I originally put in it, I took totally out based on some input from a Purple Heart veteran. I thought his input was really spot on, and just was really important to the process. And so I actually took 2 full sections out, and then I wrote a new 3rd section. And so, the original manuscript was 4 sections, and then, half of it fell onto the cutting room floor after it was reviewed. And then I wrote a new 3rd section, and then I went through, interviewing editors that I would different editors to choose one that I would partner with to go through the formal editing process, where we really get down into sentence structure and the meaning of what you're writing and the message you're trying to deliver. And because you really want to make sure that you connect with that editor on a really personal level, because it's very frank feedback, right? And so,
yeah, it is.
What was I gotta know what was in those lost sections of this book? Was that where all the juicy scandal and all the sex scenes and stuff like that? Was those ones that got cut out?
That would have been the good stuff to leave in if I'd had any. But it was more talking about challenges that were maybe more opinion filled than as much factual filled, and they just would have been more controversial to be in the book than. And it would have done is it would have distracted from the actual meaning and content of the book. Because what I was trying to do was set the stage initially that here's some challenges that are well known that veterans are facing, and using some empirical data that's on the market, but even that data is questionable to different parts of the audience. And so when the person went through, okay, if I read this and as a wounded warrior, here's my perspective on that, but here's what you wrote, it clashed. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to offend somebody in the process by any means. And so if it's not adding value, it's coming out. And so I took those 2 entire sections and just obliterated them.
That makes sense. I mean, the goal of the book isn't to get your opinion out there and your side of things, and it's a guidebook for veterans.
Yeah.
So I remember reading in the book that you sent me that you served on the Defense Intelligence Agency that combated terrorism after 9/11. You were on that team. What was that like? That's pretty crazy and admirable wow.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. Kind of the quick backstory on that is I was actually September 11th. I was actually scheduled to be in the Pentagon right where the plane went in.
Shut up. Really?
And I decided that day that I needed to go support my other client, which is at the House of Representatives. And so I actually was supposed to be there. I chose the night before. I wasn't going back down there the next day because I'd been there the day before, right on the 5th floor above where that went in, where the plane went in. And so, and the funny thing is, at the time, my wife was like a month out from having our son. And so there was just so many things that, when you bring it all together, it was like this was meant to be for a reason. And my company happened to win a contract to support the combating terrorism team at DIA. And so I really felt compelled to apply and become part of that team. And so I spent the next 6 years working 6 days a week supporting that combating terrorism team, where we basically stood up and ran the infrastructure from an IT perspective at the agency for them to go out and capture these terrorists. And so that really shaped a lot of my experience post 9/11. I had obviously my deployment experiences from the Desert Storm time from when I was in, and then my post 9/11 experiences were shaped by being able to be part of that combating terrorism team. And so that was a really exciting part of my career that really shaped my future.
Wow. So you're at the Pentagon the day before.
He was and he was supposed to be there the day of.
Yeah. In fact, I had family members calling me all frantic because they knew that's where I had been recently, spending all my time deploying a system to one of our Navy clients there, and so it was just really, really weird because when you're standing there one day and the next day that's happened, it just
wow.
Mentally it gives you a whole different perspective on things.
I can imagine. So I think it's pretty interesting that you came from your military background and then started working for the government. How does that even happen? Like, did they like scout you?
Yeah. Well, that's funny. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And, I was working in the Pentagon. I was working in the Pentagon as a military member, and we had a contractor that was supporting us, and we were working on some IT stuff and just general discussions going back and forth over time. He said, hey, when you're looking to get out, you need to let us know because we're hiring, and with your clearances and your background, you would be, a great member of the team. And so I ended up interviewing with a company and getting a contingent offer. So when I transitioned out, I went right into that role. And of course, they put me right back in the Pentagon because that's where my connections were.
That's funny.
So, yeah.
There goes the clicks again.
That's right.
The Pentagon click.
That's right.
Yeah, that's weird. You're working at the same location, but working for basically a different company.
Mm-hmm.
It's like working at Burger King, and then you go back to Burger King, but you don't work for Burger King, you work for McDonald's. But it's in a Burger King.
So is there competition in, like, when working with the government that you ever noticed where there's competition with, obviously there's other companies that, like you were talking about, that fund stuff or do whatever. Is there a company competition within the government where other companies are like, I can do this or I can spend this much money, or how do they pick who they're going to work with?
Yeah, it's a very competitive process, and it evolves over time. The government, depending on what their focus is, from how they want to bring support in. At one point it's, back in the 90s, it was, money just free flowed, and they'd just bring in contractors, and they didn't really have real tight ties on how much the contractors were charging in situations and things like that. Then over time they decided to then go to, more competitive processes where money became a large focus on how you were bidding the contract versus your actual technical abilities. But then they found, well, that's not as beneficial either, because now we have a cheap group that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, right? Hopefully they figured that out super quick.
Yeah, so that stuff evolves over time. It's like at one point they're like, oh, we're going to insource. We're going to, all these positions that we have contractors doing, we're going to bring them back in-house. We're going to make them government positions. And then they're like, oh, well, nobody wants the positions now. I guess we'll put them back out and let contractors do it. So,
weird. Huh.
It's always, it depends on the time, what they're doing.
Yeah, what they're working on or whatever.
Contractors make some damn good money working for the military.
They can. I just wonder, like, if so. Here in Minnesota, we used to have Lockheed Martin. Mm-hmm. They're not really around that much anymore. We used to have a huge.
Are they going out of business?
Well, they were. I think they're like plane kind of aircraft.
They make all kinds of stuff, don't they?
They do, but their one of their main offices was in Eagan, Minnesota, where I used to work, and that building has been long gone. It sat empty for they closed that main office, and it sat empty for maybe 6 years. Just sat there. Then people started looting the copper wiring.
Makes sense.
And now there's a Hy-Vee there. A Hy-Vee and a Total Wine and some other shops.
They had to get all new copper wiring.
I know. It's a lot of money.
That's not fair.
But I think it's interesting just what how the contracting thing works out. And
when I'm just thinking of like the civilian contractors, like when I was overseas, that would go over to Iraq and whatnot. Those guys were making. You'd have civilian contractors. You could be over there as a plumber or a truck driver, or I even saw in Qatar there was a civilian contractor. There were people that were lifeguards making $80,000 to $100,000 a year being a lifeguard, just watching over a pool that a bunch of soldiers are swimming around in, because Qatar was where a lot of soldiers went for R&R.
Right.
You get like 3 days or something to go to Qatar, and I think it was Qatar for R&R, and it was just some old embassy or something that we took over, and there was a pool there. And
you also took over one of.
I never got to go. I stopped.
No, you took over one of the. You guys took. I thought you took over one of the palaces of.
Yeah, we not our company, but we were stationed there during like their elections. I was there when Iraq did their first. They voted on their constitution, and then I was also there working the elections, the actual elections for their political parties, and there was a base that we had taken over. We had converted into a military base it had like the big palace where Uday and Hussein, the sons, I can't remember their fucking names, the sons of Saddam, they had these palaces there, and they weren't really palaces, they were more like mansions made out of like marble and brick, and those were like their weekend getaway places where they just brought women and did nefarious things. But then there was also one of those big domed, just immaculate, beautiful palaces that apparently I believe was the mother of the sons, and that was like her spot. That's where she hung out, and it was Camp Victory, I believe it was called. But where was I getting to on this point?
I don't remember. I brought up the their palace picture that you showed me. That you were in front of, whatever. Anyways, Lockheed Martin is based in Maryland.
Oh, I was talking about the civilian contractors. That's what I was talking about. Wow, I went off on a tangent there. But I was talking about how the civilian contractors make so much money. Like there were lifeguards that were making $80,000 to $100,000 a year, and I believe that the first $80,000 was tax free.
That's crazy.
What?
That's super crazy. Did you guys know that SpaceX is launching tomorrow? SpaceX Falcon,
Really?
Elon Musk's rocket.
Really?
Tomorrow.
Where's it going?
It's just going to go up
Hopefully
in the sky.
Well, yeah, but does it have a destination? What's it?
Well,
is
they're
some
not
kind of
really.
probe
It's
or
not
what?
really going to a destination. It's just trying to
We just
make
want to
sure
see
that
if
it
this thing
can
will fly.
Well, kind of. Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. They're just gonna shoot it up into the and just wherever it goes. I guess that's where it goes.
Well, they want to see if it actually works, because the cargo capacity is like twice the size of NASA's.
No people or anything in it, right?
No people.
What's he trying to do?
He's just trying to be creative, I guess. I don't know.
I know he's, but why is he trying to go to space?
Where the
Most
money is,
people-
I guess.
Yeah.
What money is he going to start mining resources from other planets?
They're going to take people up there as trips,
Yeah. Okay.
little vacations.
I've heard that, and I guarantee there'll be some very, very wealthy people that will be willing to pay a hefty plane ticket to space.
Right, but he's even saying that it's a 50-50 shot that it's gonna be successful, the launch tomorrow. And they also have a backup date. They also have a backup date for Wednesday, and if the weather isn't good enough tomorrow. NASA doesn't do that.
Is he really making that much money off Teslas that he's rich enough to just build his own NASA?
He's got a different mindset as far as running a company. You can
I
tweet
agree.
something as far as, I think I bought a Tesla. I think that I should be able to have a cappuccino made for me in the morning before I get in my car. And he'll tweet back and be like, okay, I'll work on that. And then he'll probably make it. He will.
I'm on it.
He's very involved in his company, and he responds to people.
I
guarantee you, if you tweeted him right now something, you would get something. Not
All
right now, but maybe
let's
tonight.
All tweet Elon Musk right now. Dwayne, you got your phone on you?
But he's also got another company
tweet him right
where
now.
he's drilling into the side of mountains. It's not
What is he
Tesla.
doing? He's building underground highways. He's building rockets. Right? Didn't you say on some past episode that he's building some underground?
That's what I'm looking up right now. Yeah, but
superhighway or
he's
something?
obviously the Tesla founder, and then the SpaceX thing. I don't know.
Isn't he building like an actual Jurassic Park with real live dinosaurs he brought back?
From
like,
mosquito DNA.
I have billions of dollars.
I feel like this sounds familiar.
Okay, I'm gonna tweet Elon Musk.
Okay.
What's his Twitter?
I don't know.
Is it just at
Elon Musk at Tesla?
Tesla boss at let me see. At Elon, is it ELON?
ELON.
Musk, MUSK.
Like, yep, like what's the old cologne?
It's not Musk.
No, there was one.
Old Spice?
No.
There's not a just
There was an aftershave. Yes, there was. Musk aftershave lotion.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay, here he is. We're now following him, and I'm going to tweet him.
Oh, there's a Musk.
Okay, hold on.
I don't know. He plans to drive a Tesla to Mars with
Elon
the help
Musk.
of the Falcon rocket. So he's a little bit maybe.
Just what should I say? Just confirming. Wait.
Just confirming the launch tomorrow.
No.
Yeah. Just confirming the launch of Falcon Heavy.
Melissa told me that if I tweeted you,
Did you tag me?
that you would tweet back.
But only if you have a good idea. He's not just going to respond to you.
Your move, sir.
No, you have to have a good idea.
Send. I tweeted it. All right, we'll see if
Did you know that he co-founded PayPal
really
and sold it?
God, he's doing everything.
SpaceX, and then the Boring Company is the other one, which aims to increase tunneling speed and drop costs in order to build a large network of tunnels, solving the problem of soul-destroying traffic. You don't have to drive. You don't have to drive through the apocalypse in California anymore, through the fires. You can drive through a tunnel.
You know that put Elon Musk's company over the top to finally get over that hump? Because I know he's close. He's close. He's not quite there yet, though. He needs a Dwayne Paro on his staff.
I know, he does. Dwayne, you should check out, when you get time, check out the WW, I'll send you the link. But it's
cocktail?
Yeah, Boring Company. Boring, like, this is boring, but he's talking about, like, drilling underground. It's kind of crazy. But the website's very, not interesting. It's very boring. Like, it's very... He's got jobs posted. Do you want me to look for you? He's got a senior tunnel engineer designer, a concrete quality control inspector, and that's about it. A professional civil engineer, a power electronics engineer, an industrial automation engineer. Lots of people. You could work for him.
Yeah.
Dwayne's
like, yeah, I don't want to.
You can't afford me.
Yeah. I don't even know. I definitely don't think I'm smart enough to work for him, that's for sure.
Oh, whatever. Yes, you are. Oh, that's funny.
Didn't you say that it's just him? Like, he doesn't actually have employees? It's just him making Teslas by himself?
He makes all the Teslas. He doesn't even manufacture them. He literally works like 17 hours a day. Right. No, I mean, it's a pretty cool idea, though. I mean...
Dude's got dreams.
He's got dreams, and dreams are... Some people don't even have those. So.
Dwayne, if you had Tesla money, you had some Elon Musk money, what kind of stuff would you be doing with it? Would you be building rockets and drilling highways underneath the ground?
Yeah, probably not. I'd probably buy in a private island and,
yes!
kind of...
The Seychelles.
Hiding away.
That's kind of the go-to dream for like unlimited wealth is to get your own island, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone wants an
Johnny
island.
Depp has one.
You know what worries me though about islands? Islands get slammed by like crazy tropical storms and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's like Charles Branson during the last big hurricane. They were all kind of huddled down in his bunker that he has with his wine closet. They were fine.
That dude's got a panic room made out of adamantium. Like, he was fine, I bet.
Yeah, he was fine. He's now the new Wolverine, too.
He probably has some weather control device that he built and he had Elon Musk make for him, and he makes all the weather just diverts all the way around his island.
I tell you what, Elon Musk would be a good friend to have.
Yeah, he's going to have all the isn't he working on not just the cars, but he's trying to get those freaky tractor trailers he put together.
Yeah, I know, and a bunch of companies ordered them too.
Self-driving ones.
Yep.
Self-driving, yeah.
The semis.
What do you think? Do you think we're going to get to a point where it's all the vehicles on the road are automated? Like they're all self-driving cars. You don't have you could on your way to work be sitting in your car and reading the newspaper, eating breakfast.
Yeah, I saw a picture of an autonomous that had no steering wheel. It's like just two front seats, obviously, but no steering wheel on either side.
That'd be cool, right?
Well, yeah, it'd be awesome. And they're actually Tesla's collaborating with a bunch of companies, Anheuser-Busch, Pepsi, UPS, to like have these charging stations where they can just go and chill out and hang out and charge up these semis. How crazy would that be?
What if every vehicle was self-driving, and you couldn't speed, you didn't have to worry about car accidents or anything like that. A lot of people's lives would be spared because car accidents would no longer be a thing. It'd probably take a little bit longer to get to where you're going because you don't have the opportunity to go 80 if you feel like it, and you can get away with it. Like all the automated cars are probably only going 40.
You probably find you get there quicker, actually.
Probably. If everything's like efficient and in order.
You don't have bad drivers that are mixed in. I don't know. I feel like it'd be weird to take away the aspect of driving a car. I think that it's awesome to, if you're going to go eat dinner, or especially as semi-truck drivers, like you're stopping to grab a bite or go to the bathroom or do whatever you do. You plug in your truck while you're in there. They're saying that it's going to take 30 minutes for an 18-wheeler to get recharged up.
But even if it wasn't an electric car, even if it still ran on gasoline, but it was
I don't
automated.
want a self-driving car. I
think that would be awesome. You could go to the bar and get wasted and just get in your self-driving car.
Yeah, but then you would never get to experience Uber and all the great people you meet on the way.
Yeah, you wouldn't get to experience a DUI on the way home or anything.
Yeah, I've never experienced that.
I don't want to miss out. I don't want to miss out on the rush I get from driving drunk. Were you crazy?
No, that's what Uber's for.
I'm good if I don't ever have an Uber. You have your own personal Uber.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't think that I would want to spend them. I'd rather own an island like Dwayne than own a self-driving car.
But what would you do on an island?
I would have a golf cart. I would drive. I wouldn't be the only one. It's not like I got Wilson next to me. Like I'm in.
Well, that's the thing. But even like Dwayne, if you had your own island, you'd have your family there, but nobody else.
People would come visit.
You get so sick of your family. After like a couple months, you're like, God damn it! I see these people every day, and nobody else except these dang iguanas that are all run around this damn island. Like you would get sick of your family real quick if there was no other people that you had to interact with.
I don't know. I'd have to experience it.
I think that would be tough to not enjoy that when you're on a tropical island, unless a hurricane comes through.
It'd have to just be a vacation spot. You couldn't live there like year round.
Well, you could do like the snowbird thing. Like here in Minnesota, people go down south, like Florida, Arizona, for 6 months at a time.
Dwayne, what would you name your island?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know. I have to come up with something creative for sure.
Yeah. It's important. It's got to be.
I feel like it would be initials, maybe. It would be some phonetic alphabet meaning behind it.
Yeah. You have to have a flag. Yeah, you put up on the highest peak of the island. You okay?
You can cough. It's okay.
Man. Excuse me.
You all right there, buddy?
Yeah, I took a drink so I wouldn't cough, so I coughed louder.
Wrong
that
pipe.
always happens.
So, what do we got to look forward to from Mr. Dwayne Paro? The book's been out for how long? It hasn't been long. What, a month or so?
Yeah, so that just came out in December. Okay. And I'm actually just started this week with a PR company to kick off the formal campaign to promote it, go do some book signings and different events. And so I'm really looking forward to, getting engaged in that and seeing a lot of people out there and being able to kind of go over what the book's about, right? Because sometimes when you get to talk with the author and understand the backstory and things like that, actually becomes more enticing to people to, kind of help spread that word.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to do readings, like public readings from the book? Like you see where the author will get
Like
up.
Phoebe on Friends.
He'll have a podium and he reads passages from the book.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll be doing any public readings with it, but certainly, I can. It's being able to talk to the people about what each area, focuses on and why, and so they really understand what the premise of the book is. Because that's the other, kind of downside of a book when it's just, you throw it up on Amazon and people just kind of see it in passing, right? They're like, the empowered veteran. I don't know. Depending on how well you wrote, the cover story for it, you may or may not attract the right the people that are interested.
Well, you're never going to attract everybody either. That's the beauty of people, but at the same time, you hope that you do attract a good quantity.
Yeah, that's good. You definitely want to have other ways to try to get it into people's field of view besides just throwing it on Amazon and hope people find it, stumble upon it. So, because exactly. it's a good book. It's not just some smut novel where like, okay, hopefully I sell 1 million of these.
But the bottom line is the purpose isn't for him to sell 1 million of them. The purpose is to share the information and hopefully help people.
Yes, you want to get it into as many hands and as many veteran hands as possible, and I'm sure it could even serve his purpose with non-veterans, but it's geared for veterans especially. But
have you thought about I'm sure you have. This is probably a stupid question, but getting connected with VA hospitals around you or services around you or not around you all over the country that maybe
that's a damn good idea.
help that they kind of go there to receive their benefits or go to get help or whatever they do, have a counselor or someone, and maybe that's the book that hey, go home, check this, bring this with you, come back next week. That could be kind of a thing that's a normal thing. Hey, check out this book. It's amazing. It'll help you.
Yeah, that's a great idea actually, because being so close to Walter Reed and some of the really big medical facilities, the only thing I've really done with that so far is I've been in contact with a big vet coaching company that coaches veterans as well, but they do it a little bit different on a really large scale, and they became aware of my book and are actually right now evaluating it to provide to their clients and coaches.
Okay. That's cool.
That would be cool because I like that idea, Francie. If this book was available in every VA hospital or Veteran Services office, anytime a veteran goes to one of those Veteran Services offices, because they're looking for some kind of guidance,
right? Yeah.
And if this book was available to be able to give to that veteran, that'd be pretty awesome. Because, like you're saying, this is a book that every veteran should have. Whether they could read it and decide, screw it, I'm just gonna not do anything.
Right. Or even when you're researching how to get help as a veteran, having the link to it on their website or something.
Yeah. Whether they decide that I don't give a shit about my future and I'm just gonna kind of slowly fade away, or they actually have motivation and they're just desperately looking for guidance. If this is available to everyone, just at least having it available is
absolutely
a good thing. Whether what they decide to do with it or not, if they actually use it to their benefit or they throw it in the trash, just the fact that it's available.
Have you thought about doing I know that you didn't, we talked about this a little bit about you reading a chapter, a point of it during a book show, but what about doing an audio version of it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And having that be downloadable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've actually had a few individuals ask me if I have an audio version, because right now I have the Kindle version for the e-readers. I have the paperback and the hard copy. And a mutual friend of ours, actually, Mr. Larry Roberts, him and I were on a phone call this evening, and looks like we're going to partner for him to do the audio version.
Awesome! Nice. That's amazing.
Yep. So
Love
he's
Lair
got
Bear.
That's
That's huge.
A lot of people these days, they don't want to read a book. Despite how much you actually do read during the day, like I sit and I read websites, things on websites and apps all day long, but I don't actually open a book very often.
Right, most people don't. And the fact that we talked about earlier that your book is kind of in a workbook in a way where you can write in it, but a lot of people aren't going to want to do that either. But if they listen to it and they're asked a question and there's kind of like a pause for them to think about that, they're actually going to they're more likely to actually be involved in it.
Yeah, and it can be just the way life works these days. Sometimes it's you just don't have the time to sit down with a book.
You just don't.
And you can have the book on your nightstand next to your bed for when you get home, and you can have the audio version to play in your ear holes during work during the day.
It's crazy. Well, I think it's awesome either way. I mean, you're obviously passionate about helping other people and helping veterans and specifically, but looking to find these different ways to go about it is pretty cool.
Larry's got one of those voices. That'll be good. He's got one of those voices.
He's got a good voice for it.
It's like listening to a hug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's getting over the flu right now, so it's kind of that raspy, sexy voice, But
he's had it for a while.
He assured me he wouldn't record it till he was feeling better.
No.
He
keep him sick, Dwayne. Keep him sick and have him do your book in a sexy voice.
Well, that'd be good.
You'll be like, hold on, here. What's the first page? This book is dedicated to all the servicemen and women.
Well, we had him on a couple episodes ago for our 100th episode, and he had just kind of been what was it? He finished recording that video game voiceover stuff, but he had to scream and be super loud.
His
voice was hurt from that, but then also I think he got sick too, so it's like a wham bam.
Man up, Larry. Come on. Your poor voice is strained.
This flu that's going around is nothing to joke with. Wow. It's not good.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
You should see if Larry can do an impression of you while he's reading the book. Try to sound like you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's great.
Yeah, that's cool. It's good to hear you guys are collaborating for that. That's
I like it.
Good. Keep us updated on that because I want that audio version.
I do too.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, no doubt.
To hear Lair Bear, who we love, reading a book by another brother of ours. That'd be pretty cool.
That is cool. So, besides your platforms, if someone as a combat veteran or just a veteran in general or a spouse of a veteran or daughter, son, whatever, what are some of the places that you would suggest them to go kind of check out to get information?
Yeah, where can they find this book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you can find the book. You can either go to Amazon and just search for The Empowered Veteran. You can also get it in the store on the Heroes Media Group website. Mm-hmm. And as well, obviously, as my website, landmarklifecoaching.com. And that's pretty much the three easiest ways to be able to get access to it now.
We should put a link. We should put a link for it on our website.
Yeah, we'll put it on there for sure.
If you send us a link, we'll put it up on our website.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, and where else can people find? Because you've got the podcast, Charlie Mike, and you've got the Landmark Life Coaching, where you do actual one-on-one coaching. Like your words come out of the book and are transformed into an actual Dwayne Paro.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we find? Where can people? Where would you direct people if they're looking for coaching or they want to listen to your podcast?
Yeah. So for the podcast, it's charliemikepodcast.com, and for coaching information, you can either find me on LinkedIn or my website, landmarklifecoaching.com.
Beautiful.
Cool. I love it.
Awesome. Dwayne, thank you so much for coming back on the show and sharing your time with us, brother.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate what you do so much.
Really
Absolutely. I appreciate your support. Thanks a lot.
Of course.
He's one of the good guys, people.
Yeah. And I have a signed copy of his book. Don't be jealous.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. All right, man. Thank you so much again. And send us. We'll talk. We'll talk after this. You know what? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. We out.
Bye.
this is the outro. The final moments of the episode. We're winding it down, folks. Frenzy?
Mm-hmm. We're winding it down super low.
We've had a few cocktails. Ooh, there we go. There we go. How's that? Perfect?
That's good.
Had a couple cocktails after wrapping up the episode with our good friend, Mr. Dwayne Paro.
Yep, still getting over the Super Bowl situation.
Stop talking about it.
I can't. I'm depressed.
It's pissing me off.
Well,
it's making me more depressed.
Good. It's terrible.
Screw you, Philly.
I'm honestly glad it's over.
Congratulations, but screw you.
Now we get to look forward to the Olympics, the Winter Olympics starting on Thursday.
Nobody cares about the Winter
Yes,
Olympics.
they do.
I don't care about it.
Tanya Harding. There's going to be another one this season. Not Tanya, but there's going to be
Harding's making a comeback.
There's going to be a.
Why did you say Tanya Harding?
There's going to be a copycat Tanya Harding because the figure skating happens in the Winter Olympics.
So somebody's gonna.
Yeah, they recently just aired the special about Tanya Harding, and she gave her whole story with her mom and everything. That just was like a big deal on TV.
Yeah,
so
but why?
There's going to be some Olympian that's going to watch that and be like, I could probably do that a little bit better. So they're going to be Tanya Harding Part 2.
She's going to crack someone's knee.
Her
biggest competition.
It could be a knee. It could be.
Stop trying to create rumors. What are you doing? You're putting false news out there. You are what's wrong with this world.
It could
today.
be a knee. It could be a car crash.
How dare you contribute to that?
Chicken pox.
Okay. Reggie. Okay. So.
I quit.
Dwayne Paro. Dwayne Paro. We love that dude. We do.
There's so many swear words. That is not a good background for Dwayne Paro.
Frenzy really enjoyed this episode. Can you tell? Hey, Dwayne Paro he's a good ass dude.
Well, of course he is. That's why I don't like the F-bombs and the things behind his stuff.
Making moves. He is one of the good guys. He is a positive light in this dark and gloomy world that we live in.
Well, I'm totally ready to have him sign up to be on my team when the zombies come.
I almost forgot. We need to mention that we got some news today. A friend of the show and a past guest, Mr. J.C. Johnson, we learned passed away. We just learned it today. He was on a while back, like 80. He was like around Halloween time. And cryptozoologist, a guy with some wacky ideas.
But very smart and very kind, and also a
total
local,
sweetheart.
A local Minnesota.
Yeah. The guy was like, didn't really have a home. He spent most of the time in Minnesota, though. But, yeah, cryptozoologist, the kind of guy who, he believes that there's Bigfoot, and there's chupacabras, and there's smoke wolves, and, like, banshees.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
Like, everything that is, like, mythological and pretty wacky.
Interesting. Random.
Interesting as shit, yes. That was a very interesting and it was fun. The episode when we had him on, because you're right, Frizzy, he's an absolute sweetheart. Great guy, very nice guy. Has some wild stories, and he's really fun to talk to.
Right.
I don't agree with most of the things that he believes in, but it's because
I
only believe in shit I've seen.
Right, but it's not whether you like. I don't know. For me, I thought he was passionate about what he believed in and could, back it up as much as he could. It's up to other people to believe what they believe, but the fact that he just is, he was a kind person and just had the passion for what he believed in. And he tried to get people to understand it. And if they didn't or they did, like, either way, he didn't care. Like, he just knew what he knew.
People loved when we had him on the show. He was one of the most listened to guests that we've had on the show. Like, people absolutely loved when we had him on, and we like, that's the thing, is the guests we have on, we may not always agree or believe in the same things that they do, but it's, we don't have people on here to debate what they believe in or what their opinions are on things.
There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, because we don't know. I've never seen a Bigfoot.
Mm-mm.
So that means Bigfoot might be out there, because I haven't seen him. Doesn't mean he doesn't exist. Doesn't mean he does. But
right,
it was fun just hearing his side of things. And as wacky as it as a lot of the things that his stories entailed may have been, it was damn interesting. And he was a good dude to talk to. And it's really, it's sad to hear that he passed. Friend, you were saying that when we had him on, that he was talking about how he was
battling an illness. Like, he was just, I think it was like
something,
the flu or a cold or something, or pneumonia. And then I don't feel like he was healthy ever since then. Apparently
he did have pneumonia. This was only like 2-3 months ago when he was on and we talked to him. But apparently he had a pneumonia. My brother, actually, he messaged me today and told me about it. That's how I found out that he had passed. And Tate, my brother Tate, he told me that he had pneumonia, apparently, was battling that, and ended up being put in a medically induced coma.
Mm-hmm.
And I think within the last couple of days is when he passed. But just found out about it today, so...
I know, and then it was crazy because you texted me about that happening or whatever, and then I went to his Facebook, and I had remembered seeing a post that he had said something about, like, I've been battling this illness for the past 3 weeks, like, please pray for me, like he wasn't, he I don't know, got this, like, sense that, like, he just wasn't doing very good.
Yeah.
And I scrolled for probably, I think the news came out on Saturday that he passed away, and so I scrolled probably for a good 10 to 12 minutes just getting to his posts. Like, there were so many people that had posted things on his timeline, like pictures and just created nice things to say. So it was like I had to keep going to just try and find the last time he posted something, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of people love that dude.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever you're at,
yes,
JC, if you're somewhere else or you're just
hanging out,
you're just gone,
mm-hmm.
and now you're just gone. Good guy, and
and thoughts and prayers to his family too and friends.
I know a lot of people are probably gonna miss that guy.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So, JC Johnson,
cheers.
Go in peace, brother. All right. Sponsors for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Comics. Watching comics. Let's lift it up a little bit after some depressing shit.
I know. Comics Watching Comics, hosted and created by CEO Kevin Goatee.
The mother effing CEO.
They have seasons 1 through 5 on Amazon Prime Video, and currently taking applications for season 7 and 8.
Yes. And our other sponsor for this episode, the Sportsbook Box Office Podcast.
Yeah, hosted by Kevin Goatee and Jeffrey Paul.
2 New York City comedians.
They talk sports and movies and bust some balls with each other.
Yeah, it's a good time. They're on all the social media platforms. Just type it in.
Yep,
Sportsbook.
podcasts, social media, all the things.
Yeah,
same with Comics Watching Comics.
Do it. All right. Coming up on the podcast, look forward to this month of February. We have in February, this is going to be a great one, comedian Kevin Farley.
Yes.
That's going to be badass. He was just on Drunk History. We have yet to watch the episode. We got to find it. But he was just on the latest episode of Drunk History.
Mm-hmm. Comedy Central.
He's hilarious. We got to go see him at Joke Joint. What was it, a week ago? Last weekend?
Yes, last weekend. 2 weekends ago currently, but
Yeah. Got to go see him at Joke Joint Comedy was that in Minneapolis?
Mendota Heights
Mendota
/
Heights.
St. Paul, Minnesota.
Wow, he lit the room on fire. Killed it. Just murdered it. It was a great show.
It was
me and
really
Francie
great.
sat front row and paid a little extra for that, but we got to sit front row and watched him just slay it. I was surprised. This is the first time that either of us have seen him do comedy. We'd heard of him. We knew who he was. He's the brother of Chris Farley. And we knew he was a successful comedian and everything, but had never heard him actually sling jokes. Went and saw him, and wow, our faces hurt from just laughing all night.
My face melted off. I literally am a fan for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
and I will
dude's legit, badass.
Probably top. I don't know. I don't want to say a number.
Don't even put it. Don't even do it.
I can't put a number to it, but
badass.
it was mind blowing.
Yeah, one of the top ones we've actually seen live. But so we hung out with him for a while after the show and chat
plus
with him.
We got to get that. We were just going to say, plus we got to chat with him afterwards. Everyone else had left, and it was just like the three of us just chatting.
And he said he wanted to be on the show, and here we are. We're going to have him on. God damn, it was a long time talking about one guest.
It's exciting.
We're excited. He's a good dude. So also look forward to the month of February. Alfred Felker. He's a survivalist, bushcraft dude. You know, we like to have some survivalist guests on here. We've had some pretty badass ones. They always have some interesting things to teach us, some great stories, and we like to dig into it because we're into that stuff. If you're not, sorry, we are. So skip that episode if you're not into the survival stuff. We don't give a shit. We like it. All right. And, excited about this one. Comedian Jim Florentine is going to round out the month of February.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yes. Comedian Jim Florentine, if you're not familiar, if you're not a fan of comedy, if you don't know who Jim Florentine is, then you're obviously not a fan of comedy. Because Jim Florentine, national headliner, hilarious dude. He is, if you remember the Crank Yankers show that was on Comedy Central, what was it?
Don't remember it.
Mid-2000s, early 2000s, mid-2000s, where they had the puppets and they would do the prank phone calls, actual prank phone calls, but they would reenact the scene with puppets. Mm-hmm. And the one he was famous for was the puppet. He had a helmet on, he was obviously mentally handicapped, and he would prank call people yay!
What do you call that, Tom Segura? How do you say that?
What's
the word that you use?
I can't remember what his name was. Retarded?
Yeah.
Just had to go there. I was going to say mentally handicapped, but yes. Retarded.
You already did say mentally
retarded.
Okay.
Yay! I peed in your pool. So that was the character he was famous for. The dude's hilarious. So we're looking forward to having him on. He's got a book coming out, something like that, right? A book? Didn't he say he has a book coming out? He's going to plug? Right.
Yep.
You got a book.
Don't worry, Jim. I'll have baby wipes ready for you to wipe off the poop.
Yeah, he wrote a book. Jim Florentine. Yeah, big fans. He's fucking hilarious, dude. Anyways, all right, this episode's done. We need to wrap this up. All right, we're going to play a song by one of our favorite musicians. We know you're familiar. If you're a fan of the show, Cullah, with a song called Who Am I?
Bye.
Later, fuckers.
Who am I? Who was I? Who can I be tomorrow? On the road of life, a light shines down and paves the way for me. Ways to go, some ways to go. I can only be the man I'm supposed to be. But most of all, I'm the ghost of love. Ooh. I slowly fall right down to get back up again. Who Who am I? Who was I? Who can I be tomorrow? Oh, yeah. On the road of life, life shines down and paves the way for me. A ways to go, some days to go, but I can only be the man I'm supposed to be. Just be. But most of all, I'm the ghost of love. I slowly fall down to get back up again. So say goodbye to aches and cries, and say hello to loving all your blues away. Hey, 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 yeah. Yeah, oh, hey, hey.